want to finish the series today of the Chazzan of Slichos is the Chazzan for all davenings of the day and deal with the following issue. We are at a time of the year where I have to admit is the time of the year in which your personal minhag overrides everything. There are times of the year where we feel like we're one people. And there are times of the year where we divide into different modes and colors of Judaism. And I believe that Chodesh Elul and the Aseret Yemei Tshuva together with Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is one of those times. Comes along Chodesh Elul. The Sfardim start waking up from the 2nd of Elul for Slichos the entire month, all the way through Yom Kippur, while the Ashkenazim do something like a week before, whatever it might be, depending on when Rosh Hashanah comes out. But the bottom line is this year we actually have the longest Slichos possible, and we're talking about all together 8 days before Rosh Hashanah. Not to mention the fact that the davenings are different. You go to a Sephardic shul on Rosh Hashanah, it's totally different than an Ashkenazic shul. A Sephardic shul does not have any piyutim within the Chazarat Hashatz, within the Chazan's repetition. They have a few before, a few after, and they're very, very minute. While the Ashkenazim, A, have piyutim in the davening, and B, their davening is longer than the Sephardic davening. The Sephardic davening is much, much shorter. They get home much earlier. Not to mention the fact that the nusach is totally different. In other words, though the amida all in all is the same, there are differences. The piyutim are not the same for sure. So this is the time of the year where I believe everyone goes back to their roots of their own minhagim. And when that happens, unfortunately, what happens in shuls are rages and moods go up. And maybe this is the reason why the Aruch HaShulchan, when he talks about this halacha of the Chazzan for Slichos, is the Chazzan for all the davenings afterwards, already foresaw this, and knows this is the time of the year we want to keep all the minhagim. In other words, the Ashkenazi wears the kittel, the Sephardi doesn't. Well, comes along the Aruch HaShulchan and says, "Uvederech al yizaharu me'od shelo yevol yedei machloket binyanim elu." Do me a favor, don't make a big machlokas, don't make a big tararam about these issues. And then he adds, at this time of the year, if you see people doing something wrong, be quiet, just let it go. Let bygones be bygones, live and let live, even if they're doing wrong. And why, he says, Al pi rov, because usually Hasatan meraked binyanim ka'elu kayadua. The Satan is waiting to dance when he sees Jews fight. Exactly at this time of the year and exactly about these things. In other words, let's put things into perspective. We're about to come before God on the day of judgment. We're going to fight about who's going to be the Chazan. Comes along the Aruch HaShulchan and says it's not worth it. Velachen, he says, Hamishtadel al atzmo limnoa machloket, scharo gadol me'od. Whoever goes out of his way to actually avoid having a big disagreement has a very large sachar, a very large reward. And he's not alone. Rav Moshe Sternbuch, who still lives in Har Nof, comes along and says, V'omnam, kol hanal, everything we spoke about, the Chazzan for Slichos is the Chazzan for Shachris. And according to Rav Moshe Sternbuch, the reason is to indicate to the congregation that Slichos is on a lower level than the Shachris and the Mincha, only if it doesn't cause disagreement. But if the price of it is going to be machlokes, for example, you're going to have a fight. Who gets the right of way? The mourner or the Chazzan for Slichos? Comes along Rav Moshe Sternbuch and says, not worth it. Let the Avil go. And because of that, he says, hopefully God will hear our prayers. And I'm reminded of a story that I heard from Rav Hershel Schachter. When he was in the year of Avelus for his father, true to his opinion, he did not daven in a minyan on the plain, for reasons that we've discussed before, even though he was what's called a chiyuv. And he said, why am I saying Kaddish for my father? Because it's a form of kibbud horim after your father died. What greater honor to your father than not to daven in a minyan, not to disturb other passengers with your Amen Yehesh Me Rabba and Baruch Hu at the top of your lungs in order to overcome the big engine of the plane. And I believe the same is true here. Yes, this is a halacha in the Ramah. And yes, we should try to keep it. But no, not at a price of a machlokas. And therefore, on this particular halacha, we should go lekula. If there's a chiyuv and he wants to daven, let him daven. Be somech on the shitos that say it doesn't apply today. Or be somech on the shitos that say that at the end of the day, we don't need appeasement today, like Rav Shlomo Lev Vilna said, because we all say slichos, as does the Chazzan. I believe going into Shabbos, we have to remind ourselves that the priorities of the Jewish people at this time of the year, with all the greatest respect to our holy minhagim that we'll try to keep, should be always that the Jewish people should be the top of the list, together with the Torah. And indeed, two poskim from two different worlds, a Litvak, Rav Epstein from Norvadik, and a Chassid, Rav Moshe Sternbuch, came to the same conclusion. It's not worth it. Not the machlokas. So be'ezrat Hashem, through our unity in shul, our davenings and our slichos, yitkablu leratzon, lifnei adon kol, and we will have a wonderful year ahead, b'schut, the fact that we will eat our pride for the sake of unity.